Welcome, everybody, to Business Breakthroughs. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, and I'm here with Andrew Honigsfeld and Michael Millay. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi, how are you?
How's it going?
I'm good. Hey, this is our inaugural episode. This is our maiden voyage out into the world of podcasting.
Woohoo!
Yep.
Yeah, I know, right? And I'm excited because what you guys do is super important for the business world to hear, because I think there's a lot of places where business owners get stuck, and we're going to destroy those sticking points with this entire show. So awesome. Hello, welcome to your show. Tell me about you guys. How long have you been in business? What do you guys do? So everybody listening can get a sense of that.
Yeah, so we've been in business for 2.5 years now, which is super exciting. And I always forget how long we've been doing this, but it's been great. We're 2.5 years in. And what we do is we help business owners actually have a business that works for you instead of them working for the business by hiring people that support them and actually can allow them some freedom in their own business.
Yeah. Michael, what did you know Andrew? Did you guys meet 2.5 years ago, or did you guys know each other before that?
We met 3 years ago-ish.
Yeah.
And then we somehow wound up as roommates. And then Andrew was working at Northrop at the time and literally would come home every day talking about how much he hated it and how his bosses were the worst. And
yeah.
I personally also have some experience with some bosses not necessarily being the best. And what we realized is that no one really wakes up in the morning and is like, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a terrible boss today.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily make them not a terrible boss, but it's more usually through lack of knowledge and ignorance and or being stuck in the way that they've always done it.
Yeah.
And this is a problem that we definitely saw exacerbated in small businesses, because a lot of these people haven't even had any training.
Right. Yeah.
I've talked to lawyers and doctors about how many hours and how many classes they've spent learning about how to run a business. Mm-hmm. And they're like, 5. I'm like, 5 classes? They're like, no, 5 hours.
Right. Yeah.
And so inside of that, we decided to start our company and really just make sure to make a difference for people, because we saw so many people feeling chained to their business.
Yeah.
And
big time.
That's just, for us, if you're not having fun, it's out of integrity, as Andrew always says. Sorry, I stole it from you.
Well, I think that's true, because in small business, I think most small businesses get into business for the promise of lifestyle, autonomy. There's this vision in our head before we ever start it. And we're like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then we get into it. And we're like, what have I done?
Right. Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I saw something that someone posted that got a little too real for me. It was, entrepreneurs are the only people who will work 100 hours a week to make sure they don't work 9 to 5.
Oh,
I was like, ha, 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 ow.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Andrew.
Oh yeah. I was just going to say, I mean, that's really what I've found is, I haven't met a single entrepreneur that chose it because they're like, I really just want to dedicate my whole life to a business, not be able to spend time with my family, not be able to start a family. That's actually why I became an entrepreneur. I've never met anybody who said that yet. So, and I think one of the things that people think is that if you really are passionate about what you're doing, then, it's almost the adage of if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
And to a certain extent, that's true. But to another extent, you're working 100 hours a week. So you're not able to love the rest of your life. So, that's what we're out to solve.
I think when we were talking before we ever, created the show, one of the things that you guys, your approach to solving this whole problem of entrepreneurs being stuck in their business, right? Or being, working, 90 hours, so they don't have to work 9 to 5. Your approach was really unique to me. It caught my attention because you guys come in and you ask 3 questions that you ask? What are the questions you guys ask?
3 questions.
Yeah.
So this is one of my favorite things is we come in and we ask people, okay, how much money do you want to make? How much money do you want to bring home per year?
Right.
They say whatever number they say. Okay, how many hours a week do you want to work?
Mm.
Okay.
Yep.
You want to work 40 hours a week, or you want to work 5 hours a week, or check in once a month for an hour via Skype or Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
Living in Bali or who knows.
Yep.
And then we also ask, what parts of your job do you love doing that you wouldn't want to give away?
Mm-hmm. I love it.
And we actually ask a fourth question, but we ask it 3 times. And it sounds like this. No, but really. Because people will say, oh, I want to make $10,000 more than I'm making. I want to work 2 less hours a week, and I love everything. And we're like, okay, yeah. So as an entrepreneur myself, I can tell you that that's not true. Doesn't matter how much you love what you do. That's not true. Yeah. So we often, we have to get people clear on like, but really, like if you could have anything, snap our fingers and you have your perfect life, what does that look like? And that's often scary for people.
I think one of my favorite examples of that is we were talking to a realtor who was averaging about $66,000 a year. So, and we were looking at doing a 6-month contract with them. So we're like, okay, well, so normally over the 6 months you would make 33,000 on average.
Right.
How much money would you need to make for it to be worth working with us? And they said 36,000. And
right.
And like I looked at them and I'm like, yeah, if that's the goal, then we're not the right people for you. That's not even worth playing the game of.
Yeah.
Like for me personally, it's like, if you're not going to at least be hitting 60,000 in this next 6 months, then like I will feel like I've dropped the ball on that.
Right.
Actually, I think what I love about these 3 questions is anybody listening to this, and I think as the show keeps evolving and growing, these 3 questions to me are always in the background for people listening. Like, no, it's always revisiting those 3 questions. Like, how much money do you want to make? How much time do you want to work? And what things do you want to keep doing? And as you grow in your business, that the answer to those questions, I think, keeps evolving.
Absolutely.
Because you keep expanding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually why one of the things we do is we break out for people like a 6-month goal. And then what that looks like at 5 months, 4 months, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month. And we really have people make it real for them. So when we ask the questions and they've agreed to work with us, one of the things that we do is just that process. And part of it is we say, okay, cool. So you want to work, let's say you want to work from 80 to 5 hours a day, 80 hours a week to 5 hours a day. When you say you want to do that, we say, great. So in 6 months, that's what it's going to look like. And it becomes very real. And the cool thing is, people actually start to really see and evaluate their life from that perspective. And oftentimes it doesn't even take the 6 months to get what they want, because once you're living and that's done, it shows up much quicker.
That's so good.
Yeah.
We had a client who was a pilot and really wanted to be an entrepreneur. And we were helping him to start transitioning to that. And we were working with him for 6 months. And within a month and a half, he got offered a CEO position for a startup in energy, which is the exact field he wanted, and was then scared to take the jump. And we're like, no, like, why are you like trying to straddle the fence here? Like, you can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, you got to commit. And that's part of what we do is we're willing to have whatever conversation that needs to be had to get you what you want.
Yeah. That's good. Let's go there for a minute, because I feel like, I've been in business for 17 years. I've had a lot of coaches. I've done a lot of coaching. And I feel like one of the things that happens with coaching is that everything starts to get very nice. Like everybody's like we're having very nice conversations, and coaches aren't actually confronting the limiting beliefs of the client. And I think what makes you guys different and why you've had the success you've had up to this point is that, and you guys are 2.5 years into business, but what's giving you the success in those 2.5 years is you guys just don't BS. You guys just shoot it straight and ask the hard question, which is the thing that I think all of us need, is to be shaken by the lapels and like get honest and serious about what we really want to create.
Yeah, I think that it's a real disservice to everybody to be nice.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to pay me to make your life turn out, and I'm going to sit there and step over something because it might hurt your feelings, then you're not getting the life you said you wanted. You know, and actually Michael and I have an agreement with each other that it's actually out of integrity if we don't speak up when something's not quite right.
So that would actually be one of the hugest violations of trust inside of our relationship.
Right.
And like, that actually speaks to how we also coach, because literally when we take on a client, it occurs to me like we're giving like a holy oath or a vow to have that person get what they want out of life. And that means that sometimes we don't take certain clients on because we either don't have we don't provide what they're needing, or we can tell that they're very much stuck in what they think they want versus actually being clear on what they want. And so they're going to wind up disappointed. And for me personally, I don't want to waste my time with people who are going to wind up disappointed and not actually fulfilling on the dreams that they have.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's part of I think what's so brilliant about that, and the simplicity of that, is that I've seen this so many times. I've done this, and I've seen this so many times with people where we will go look for answers outside of ourselves. We'll buy courses, we'll buy books, we'll go to conferences. We do anything we can out here to try to find an answer. And when a lot of times all that's missing is having a really direct and honest conversation where we're not willing to step over the thing you keep not talking about or you keep avoiding.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's you know, that's one of the things is even just like, you know, when we're on a sales call or something like that, our whole goal is that whether or not you sign up with us, even in that call, is that you get value, that you walk away from that call and you're like, I got something.
Yeah.
And you know that, and it's just from that, it's like, we're going to have the straight conversations. And actually when Michael does the sales calls, oftentimes I get a little uncomfortable. If I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, you can't say that. Oh geez. And like, but you know, that's his style and that's our style. And that's what actually makes the difference is if you're not supposed to say something or you can't say something, like that's where we play.
Right. Yes. And to the service that you guys provide for people, like you're helping people build infrastructure around their life through teams and support and leverage that for them to be a successful, this is kind of where we started this conversation, but for them to be a successful boss and create a culture that causes people to rise, they can't step over the conversations that need to be had. So to be in an environment that you guys facilitate and cultivate in your clients actually helps them. It's very uncommon for people to have that type of a dialogue with people in their life. So for them to be in that environment and sort of draft on your momentum is a helpful way for them, I think, to kind of be the boss they need to be.
One of my favorite conversations to have with people is right after they've said all the right things, exactly how it should be said, but it's just off. And I can't quite, like, I might not know exactly why it's off, but I can just tell. So you said all the right things, but you were weird about it. Why were you weird about it? And that's literally how I'll ask the question sometimes. And they'll be like, what do you mean I said all the right things? I'm like, yeah, but something about it was just like weird. What's going on? And it's when you have those types of conversations and really probe into not just the surface level, because there's so many answers on how to build a business, how to build a team, how to do everything that's needed. But so much of that is dependent on if you fit a particular profile. If you show up this one particular way, this is the team you need. It's not about, okay, what are your strengths? What is important to you? What are you looking for? What What
Right.
do you want to be doing? Some people want to be a business owner and not manage people, which
Right.
like, and I always think of Gary Keller
Mm-hmm.
from
Hello.
Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Right.
And he fired himself as the CEO
Mm-hmm.
because he actually got that, A, that wasn't what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And B, it wasn't actually serving the company as a whole for him to remain in that leadership position.
Right.
And like that to me is one of the most brilliant things that someone could do.
Mm-hmm.
Because he actually got clear that he could trust someone else to fulfill on that accountability. And so many people bring their ego and bring their how it should look into it, and what being the owner of a company should be, as opposed to actually knowing themselves and knowing what works for them. And so that's why when we're talking to people, and none of the issues that come up in their business only come up in their business.
Right.
Sometimes it comes up with their spouse. Sometimes it comes up with their kid. Sometimes it comes up in talking to a friend. Sometimes it comes up in they got pulled over by a cop or something. Like, it's all a reflection, because the same triggers that you have in one area are the same triggers you have everywhere.
Right.
And it's going to derail everything if you actually don't address those and you step over them, because they're going to keep on coming up, keep on coming up, keep on coming up.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting because you were talking about our coattails of like that level of honesty and that the way that we handle it and what they then get to bring to their employees. But the other thing is like we also, they also will start to naturally just bring that to their clients, and they get to serve their clients better, because when you're having those levels of conversation, you're really getting to the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
And so as it starts to become more and more normal, that just starts to show up everywhere. And that's what he was pointing at, is like nothing is isolated.
Yeah.
So
can I add on to something?
Yeah.
To that, Andrew? Or so like when one of the things that actually is our genius is actually having people shift that perspective without having to have it be something that they have to try really hard to do.
Right.
Yeah. Not consciously.
Yeah. So by asking the right questions and directing focus onto certain areas, what we find is that our clients naturally start taking different actions. And it's actually hilarious if you ask them what we do, because they literally say, so we talked to them and then I made more money and had more time. And people are like, there's a few things in between. And they're like, yeah, I don't understand it either.
Yeah. I was going to say, because I feel like it's so interesting, because what you guys, a lot of when we've talked, what you guys sort of help people do is around filling in the gaps based on the answer to their 3 questions. You guys then help them build infrastructure around that to support them doing the 3 things they said they wanted, right?
Yeah. It's pretty easy. Once you know that, you can just build that actually fits that description.
Right.
And then know what the revenue goal is, because you know how much you need to be paying each of those components in your structures.
Right.
And then you can just do that.
Right. That's the part that's so funny, right? Is like we've made an entire industry out of overcomplicating things. I think they used to say like, make things complicated if you want to sell stuff or whatever, right? Like, it's like, see if we can't have like 55 steps to, getting your life back. But I think what's interesting to me is a lot of your approach feels like, I don't want to say life coaching, because I don't know that that's accurate, but it just, there's this way in which you're talking, you're dialoguing, and then, but you're using hiring and team building and some of this as a sandbox,
right,
to help them. You have to have something tangible to go do. Like, let's go do something.
Yeah.
But in the process of the doing, you're having these really honest conversations about the being. Right. And I think that's what actually makes it work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And to that end, is like you were saying, like I don't really want to have a conversation with you about how to have your relationship with your girlfriend go better.
Right.
There are some people who love that. And if that's what you need, you should go find those people.
Right.
However, if our conversation is about having the straight conversations with your employees so that you can really get what you want from them, that's probably going to make a difference with your girlfriend too, because let's be honest, that's what you're avoiding there too. And that's why you're not fully satisfied. So does it help there? Yes. And that's, you know, I think that that's one of the, if you will, like auxiliary benefits to what we provide. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes what shows up is those same areas are actually easier to see inside of interpersonal relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we'll address it in that way because it's much clearer and right in their face.
Yeah.
Whereas with employees, sometimes it can get to, well, they should just do what I tell them. Well, are you telling them to do things? No, they need to read my mind. And it's like, okay, well, and it can't quite be seen because they have their own preconceived notions of what leadership is and what being the boss means and what being the manager means. And so like you can take that same kind of context and look at their relationship with their kids, which they probably will have mentioned they're struggling with maybe.
Right. And what you'll find is like, you know, even that, right? These conversations are all should conversations. A big portion of what we do is just, I don't know how else to say it, but blow those up.
Right.
It's like, I see that you think something should be a certain way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah.
Like, why should your employees be able to read your mind?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because they've been working with me for 2 weeks now and blah, blah. And it's like, well, I think you just answered your own question as to why they can't read your mind. They've been working with you for 2 weeks. And, you know, if you will, as an example, this is the first time you've wanted them to get coffee. Why would they know your coffee order?
Right.
You know, because often it's those little things also too, like going to what he was saying is like those little conversations when somebody's like, my employee can't get my coffee order right. Well, they're not going to look at that. They're not giving them the proper instruction for their main job task, but they will actually stop to think about, oh, you know what? I don't think I told him I can't do milk with my coffee.
Yeah.
And so we can say, great, anywhere else where you see that maybe you're not being as abundantly clear with them as you thought you were.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start to go on their own to like, you know, when I gave him this task, I did just say you should take care of the thing. And I could see how that might not be helpful.
Right.
So
one of my, can I go into this story?
Yeah.
Andrew? Oh, okay, cool. So one of my favorite examples of this is we were working with someone who was having a problem employee that could just never like know what the next step was, wouldn't follow through on the tasks, wouldn't get it done in the way that's needed to. So we came in and we observed for like a few hours, and what we saw is this is how he would give instructions. Staring at the screen, just typing. Yeah, hey, you really need to do that one thing for that property that's closing, as they have 3 properties in escrow or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
on a slow day.
And it's one of those things that's like, okay, well, have you tried not typing and maybe turning and facing the person when you're giving instructions? Mm-hmm. Because their other complaint would be that the person would always come back with more questions. And it's like, yeah, like.
Yeah. So interesting.
It's actually like, and this shows up through a lot of our different things, but it's the idea of slowing down to speed up.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, yes, technically, if you're still typing that email while you give instructions, you're getting more done.
Mm-hmm.
But when your employee can't manage the request you have because they can't follow what you're trying to say, that's going to take more time. So it actually, even though it takes 5 minutes to roll back and then face them and talk, it's going to save you so much more time when they understand exactly what they have to do, where they have to go, and when it has to be done too. Because the other part of that is you'd say, I would need this done by later.
By later.
Yeah. Later's not a time, despite
right.
what it might sound like. And I know everybody says, I'll see you later, but what does that mean? Yeah. So, that's a big part of it, is like when you're working with them, and just going back to it is, same thing as like, I would like you to get me coffee is great if you want a black coffee, because that's as close to the request as you're going to get. But if you want, some double soy French vanilla caramel latte or some weird thing like that, you might want to specify it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're getting a black coffee.
Well, to you guys' point earlier, like how you do anything is how you do everything. Like you start to notice that in other areas of life, the very generalities of the way I ask for things is impacting my marriage. It's impacting the way I talk to my kid, whatever. It just spills over into everything. And I think that's what I like about what you guys do, is that it's not so much like you're teaching clients how to ask for their coffee order. You're pointing to the patterns in their life that are causing them to not get the results they want to get. And I think this is a great place to wrap this particular episode, because if you've listened to this and you heard some places where you listening to this were like, I might do that, or I think I could benefit from somebody being very straight with me in how, like, seeing what there is to see. Because it's not a 55 step to having the life I want. It's just, sometimes it's very obvious. I think probably what there is to do right now is for them to reach out to you guys. Like, how can people connect with you if what they've heard today is resonating with them?
Yeah, so you can find us on our website. It's malayandhonigsfeld.com. I know that's super easy, so there's no reason to spell it out, but I will anyways. That's MILLEANDHONIGSFELD.com.
Perfect. malayandhonigsfeld.com.
Yeah, we are the coaches that sound like lawyers.
I love it. And then there's just a contact page. Like, you can just go to the contact form and reach out to you guys through the contact form, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Super simple. Scroll down and you'll find it.
Yeah. I think you guys did a great job today of just really, you've given us enough space to see where we can go in depth on a lot of these future episodes. So I would invite anybody listening to this also to just, there are specific questions already starting to percolate about hiring, or about having the kind of life that you want to create. Start sending those our way so we can address those in future episodes. But guys, great first episode today. Until next time, see ya.
See ya. Thanks.
Later.